you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I am really concerned that some of the members opposite simply do not understand the reality or the scale of this problem, and just how many people are really fearful of the impact of the cost of living crisis that's coming down the line. Of course, first and foremost, we need to help those in the greatest need, people in serious poverty who are struggling to put food on the table. But the reality I see in my constituency of Batley and Spen, and I'm sure it's the same across many other areas, is that there are people in many households who are already really experiencing genuine anxiety and hardship. There are many families that the government is putting under huge pressure. They're not desperately poor, but they're not rich either. Often both partners are working full-time. They're trying to do the best for their kids, but they're really struggling through no fault of their own. I've heard from many families like this in my constituency. They're proud, hard-working people, but too many are facing the embarrassment, and I know some would say the humiliation, of having to rely on food banks. And when I see members opposite on social media going to food banks and telling them what an amazing job they're doing, quite honestly, they're the ones who should be embarrassed. Those food banks are there for a reason. It's because of the policies pushed by the party opposite over the past 12 years. I was contacted last week by a couple whose story really shocked me. He works full-time helping people with drug and alcohol problems. She is a children's crisis counsellor. They can't afford to pay this month's gas and electricity bills and are worried about what will happen if they fall behind on their rent. They are desperately trying to make sure their kids don't suffer, but things are so tight that they can't afford to go to the shops for the next 2 weeks. He described it as a matter of survival getting to the end of the month. These are good people, trying to help those even less fortunate than themselves, and we shouldn't be making their lives even more difficult in the coming months. I also have elderly constituents and constituents with disabilities who are trying to navigate complex procedures around heating costs, reductions in benefits and a lack of housing provision. And many of these people are struggling with anxiety and depression on top of their physical health issues. Indeed, we're focusing this afternoon quite rightly on the financial impact of the cost of living crisis, but we should also take a moment to remember that the last couple of years have had a huge impact on people in other ways. Many have already paid a heavy price in terms of their physical health and mental well-being. So why would the government want to add extra stress and pressure to people who are already struggling like this by not supporting this motion which would help them? There are things that we can do to make a real difference to people's lives, and for me it's very simple. If we can act, we should act. So I would urge members on all sides to recognise the seriousness of the crisis that many people are facing by supporting this motion today.
Jacob Young.